Today's practice. Today's practice is all about opening up your shoulders. So some of you already might have pretty open shoulders, and you know, you might not get a lot of sensation, but your work is really going to be deepening your breath and really trying to dial in all these little points. If you do have tight shoulders, know that you might have to kind of back off, use your breath to slowly ease in. So typically the people who I feel like really dig this sequence are people who, of course, use their shoulders a lot, like rowers, baseball players, weightlifters. Um, but anyone really who finds tension in their upper back and shoulder area, which is most of us, we kind of carry that emotional backpack. It can feel good to get in to the places that this sequence gets into. Now, this is taken largely from a teacher named Noah Mays. So it's Mays Yoga if you want to check him out. Um, and he comes from, although he's had many teachers, this sequence that we're about to go through is very exact and it's very anatomically dialed in. And this sort of exact alignment approach is very typical of the Iyengar school of yoga. So we've already talked a bit about Ashtanga. We've talked a little bit about Shivananda yoga. Now Iyengar is another prominent style that gained popularity in the United States. And again, it's really one of the big characteristics is this really dialing your physical alignment in, not only as a tool for mindfulness, but also for health and safety of practicing. So the point of today is to really try to do all the little details as much as you can and then find that balance. Oh, yeah. And then breathe really deeply, right? So it might not seem like there's a lot going on in this practice, but there actually is. So pay attention, feel free to kind of pause, rewind, get the stuff. I'll do my best to communicate it. But yeah, here we go. Open your shoulders. So one of the first principles that we're going to add into this is, we've done those sort of rotations and loops, right? So the shoulder loop, right? Then the ribcage loop, and then the pelvic tilt. And these help to dial us in. These were like little knobs that we could turn to sort of feel the pose in a different way. So now we're going to introduce rotations. All right. So what I want you to do is just put your arms out. So do this actually, and stand up and do it. So if you're sitting down, stand up, and just put your arms like straight out. Okay. Now you're going to take your right arm. This is my left arm, but your right arm. Okay, and you're going to take your left hand, and you are actually going to rotate your entire arm. Okay, and you're going to rotate it externally. So you're going to take it away from your center line. So let's take this arm and we're going to rotate the entire arm, right? And we feel the shoulder rotate, and I even rotated my forearm and wrist. Okay, now take it the other way. So this is an internal rotation where you take the entire arm internally. Let's do that once again. External, roll it away from the center line of the body, and we could see this is that shoulder loop feeling. Internal rotation. Okay, so we can do this with our legs as well, but today we're really going to focus on this internal and external rotation concept, mostly with our upper body to feel our shoulders. So without further ado, come to a standing position. Take a nice exhale and arrive for a second. I like to have a little bit of bend in my knees to really ground down, root down into my feet. Again, I really like to make that ujjayi, that fogging sound, so constricting my throat. If you're into that, please start that. If you just want to, breathe deeply with your diaphragm without that sound, respect, do your thing. But please do your thing right here, right now. All right. Now, keep your deep breath rhythm going as best you can as we start to practice here. Bring your arms to a T, palms facing down. All right. Now, from here, we are going to externally rotate both arms. Okay, so thinking from the shoulder, not just turning your palms up, but your entire arm. I want you to externally rotate the entire thing. Now your palms are facing up. All right. Again, feel into all four corners of both feet, root down, and then inhale. Let's bring our arms up overhead. Okay, so this is a pose that we're familiar with, but we're really going to dial it in. Okay, opposing action gonna come in big time in this class. Let's get into it. Fingers actively reach up, arms are still externally rotated. Shoulders draw down, keep breathing. Notice if your rib cage is popping out. Let's pull that rib cage loop in and down. Notice if your tailbone's sticking out and back. Tuck that down towards your heels. Now do all of this at once. Actively reach up. Take the bend out of your elbows. Zero bend in the elbows whatsoever. Go for it here. Really go for it. Shoulders pull down. Rib cage draws in, down through the heels. Now one more long, huge breath. Doing everything at once. Go for it. And then exhale. Slowly let your arms float down. Notice any sensations, any difference in feeling, and just kind of roll that out for a second. So that is a typical approach to the different poses. We're only going to be in them for about 5 full breaths. So I really want you to do them with your whole body, your whole mind, your whole heart, and your whole breath. And then we'll let it go and just kind of notice what happens. So here we go. Our first and only forward fold, just to kind of warm up a little bit, down into child's pose and then downward facing dog. All right, but let's work some of those concepts, right? So again, arms to a T. Externally rotate both arms. Next inhale, arms up and overhead. Palms face one another. Good, really reach to the face. So no bend in the elbows whatsoever. Shoulders pull down, lower ribs draw in, tuck tailbone down through heels. On your next exhale, bend your knees, go ahead, forward fold. Dive all the way in as much as you can. Release your head and neck. And we'll take a couple of breaths here. It's about 3 or 4 breaths. So just acclimate again, knees bent as much as you need to. With every exhale, maybe try to straighten a little bit more, get that chin a little closer to the chest. Belly pulls in a little bit. Good. Now, from here, bend the knees a lot, put your hands down, and come on down to your knees. Now, we're going to go towards child's pose. We're not going to go all the way. So we'll just take your arms out. I want you to push your arms into the ground. Actually, you know what? In fact, before we even start this, let's just come up onto our knees. Take the arms out, externally rotate the shoulders, and take the arms up overhead. Now, keep the upper arm externally rotated, and then internally rotate from the elbow to the wrist. So your shoulders are externally rotated, your forearms are internally rotated. Okay, and then take your arms a little bit forward as if you were pushing into an imaginary wall. Okay, so you're actually creating some tension here without it coming into your head and neck. Good, keep drawing down, keep pushing, keep squeezing. So external rotation in the upper arm, internal rotation in the lower part of the arms. Spread the fingers. All right, now keep that happening and actually put your hands now, not an imaginary wall or an imaginary surface, but the actual surface. Don't come all the way into child's pose. Come like halfway. So you're not in tabletop, you're not in cat, you're not in cow. You're sort of in between tabletop and child's pose. Now, push your hands into the ground. Hands about shoulder width apart. Now, again, externally rotate from the shoulders. So the upper arm externally rotates. Now, the lower part of the arm from the elbow to the wrist internally rotates. So we're going in two opposite directions. We're using rotations. Now, push into the ground. Keep that action happening. Now start to surrender your hips back a little bit. Don't just flop into child's pose. Let your arms be super active. So if you kind of went all the way back and you lost your arm movement, come back, reset, external rotation in the upper arms, internal rotation in the lower arms, fingers spread. Now keeping that, try to take your hips back. Now find the place where as far as you can go back while still holding all that action in the arms. And then on your exhale, go ahead and you can release into a full child's pose for a moment. Let your hands come back by your feet. Surrender your head and neck down. All right, go ahead, slide your hands forward again. So now we're going to use that same action in downward facing dog. So let's set it up. Hands shoulder width apart, external rotation, and you might be like, what's he talking about? Slow it down. It's all right. This part of the arm, the upper arm, external rotation. This part of the arm, internal rotation. External, internal. Hey, take a breath. Just yoga. Have some fun with it. You got this. It's going to feel different. It might be different than what you're used to doing. Come at it with a whole new perspective. Now, here we go. Externally rotate the upper arm. Internally rotate the lower arm. What? You got this. Push. Okay, here we go. Now, knees lift up. And we're not just going to push ourselves and force ourselves to downward facing dog. We're going to make sure we emphasize these arms. External rotation in the upper arm, internal rotation in the lower arm. This is really, you can feel this almost by pushing your thumb and pointer finger knuckles down, like the base knuckle where the finger meets the hand. But really what you're doing is, I want you internally rotating from your elbow all the way to the wrist. Oh yeah, and breathe deeply, slowly, with a relaxed face. Relaxed neck. One more big breath here. Maybe totally going for it in the legs. It's our only downward facing dog here as we go today. And then again, come on down to your knees. Sit on back for a nice relaxed child's pose. Again, I like taking my hands back by my feet during this practice. You can keep them forward. In fact, you know what? Let's all bring them forward and let's externally rotate our entire arm so our palms are facing up, and then we relax as best we can in child's. And then sneak your way out. Push back to downward facing dog just for a beat as you walk your feet up to your hands. And then go ahead, when you're ready, slowly rolling one vertebrae at a time till you come all the way up to a standing position. All right. So again, what you're doing in these poses is very subtle, but I want you to do it with me. I want you to get on board. And then, when it's all done, when we're done with that pose, when you exhale and you release it, I really want you to tune in and feel what's going on. Now, similar to arms overhead, there's another pose called upward salute. All right, so upward salute. This is where we're actually going to bring the hands together. All right, so we've got the palms facing each other, a bit apart. Now we're going to bring them all the way together. So here it comes. This is going to be our sort of reset pose. We're going to kind of pepper this in as we go. Again, Externally rotate the arms. Palms are facing up. Go ahead, inhale. Now, don't just take the arms up. Bring your hands all the way together. Okay, now try to take your arms back a little bit. Take the bend out of the elbows, reaching the fingers actively up. Now, if I really go for this, my chest starts to stick out. So rib cage, loop it down. Boom, lock it in. Tailbone down a little bit toward the heels. Breath deep, going for everything at once. Arms up, shoulders down, rib cage in, tailbone tucked, legs down through the heels. And then exhale. Release. And again, release slowly here. Notice what that feels like. Here we go. Now, go ahead, take the arms back behind you, and this is where you might need a strap. I should have told you at the beginning, I'm so sorry, but a strap or an old t-shirt is gonna come in handy today, and I'll have one here to just be able to demonstrate. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna interlace our fingers together. So to interlace, take your fingers, one at a time like a zipper would do, all right? So this is interlacing the fingers, all right? And then I want everyone to do that and notice which pinky finger is on top, all right? Because we're gonna do this a second time and you're gonna put the other pinky finger on. So just kind of take note which one is on top. Try not to think about it too much, but now, we're not gonna interlace the fingers in front of us, we're gonna interlace the fingers behind us, all right? Now some people have really tight shoulders, and so what you'll do is with the palms facing forward in standard anatomical position, you will grab onto the strap and you will use the strap instead of interlacing your fingers. This one, I just so happen to be able to interlace, so I'm going to interlace. Now, here we go. With the fingers interlaced, we are going to lift the hands off of our bodies, okay? Off of your lower back, off of your upper butt. All right, here we go. Now, from here, we're gonna lift up as high as we can, but not just lift up, but we're gonna like reach it back. So we're gonna take any bend out of the elbows. And if we were standing on like a yoga mat, we'd be directing our knuckles toward the back edge of that sticky mat. All right, now from here, we are going to roll the shoulders externally. Keep reaching those knuckles back on a diagonal behind you. Draw your lower ribs in. Tuck the tailbone down. Now breathe. If you can squeeze your palms together, squeeze your palms together. I cannot demonstrate that for you. I am sorry. One last breath. You got it. Go for it. Again, really, really go for it. You'll be rewarded by the release on the exhale. And when that time comes for you, go ahead, let it out. Yeah, I feel like this is such a good COVID class too. So we've been so like hunched on our computers. So this is like, set it free. Set it free. All right, let's hit that reset button. Arms out to a T. Externally rotate. We'll just take one breath here. So really go for it. Don't front and now. Arms to the sky. Palms come together. No bend in the elbows whatsoever. Really reach, really go for it. At the same time, shoulders pull down for that opposing action. Rib cage draws in. Tailbone tucks slightly. Strong through the legs. One full breath here. And then the exhale. Slowly ride it on down. We're going to interlace our fingers behind our back one more time. Go ahead, do it in front of you one time. Okay, now look at which one is sort of on the bottom. Now undo it and do it so the other pinky finger's on the bottom. It will probably feel really weird. That's why I wanted you to do it in front of yourself so you do that. These were still your hands, and that's okay. Remember that feeling, and you're going to put it behind your back. Other pinky finger on top. Here we go. If you need the strap, you're using the strap. You're not worried about pinky fingers being on top or bottom because you're not interlaced. Take a really rooted down stance here. Feel into all four corners of the feet. Start to breathe deeply. Lift the hands off the body. Here we go. Reach the arms back on a diagonal actively, like as much as you possibly can. You're dialing it all the way up to 11. But then, at the same time, you are going to start to roll the shoulders back. Draw the lower ribs in. Tuck tailbone, strong through the legs, down through the heels. Relax your face, breathe deeply while the rest of your body is actively going for it. Last big breath here. Maybe make it a little bit longer, maybe make it a little bit slower. But when the exhale comes, of course, you can go ahead and release. All right. Now, from here, shaking it out a little bit. Arms come out to a T. Boom. Externally rotate the shoulders. Arms lift to the sky. Hands come all the way together. Reach those arms all the way up. Shoulders pull all the way down. Rib cage all the way in. Tailbone down through the heels. What? Oh, yeah. Breathe. Exhale. We've interlaced the fingers behind our back with both pinkies taking a turn. Now it's time to go up and overhead. So just like that, take your arms out to the side, externally rotate, lift them all the way up. This time we're going to interlace the fingers and then turn the palms to face the sky. Now, from here, really go for it. Again, no bend in the elbows whatsoever. Really reach like you're trying to hold the ceiling up. As you do that, the shoulders draw down into their socket. Lower ribs draw in, tailbone tucks through the heels, everything all at once, as much as you possibly can, finding your equilibrium while you breathe deeply, slowly, and as relaxed as possible. And the last breath, we're going to take an extra one here. We're only going to do this one side. Really go for it. When your exhale comes, that's when you slowly take the arms way out to the side, way out to the side. Pause. Inhale, arms out to the side, external rotation, upward salute. Hands come together all the way up. Maybe take those arms back, like you're trying to get your arms behind your ears. Reach up, rib cage down, everything all at once. One huge inhale here. You got this. And then exhale, release. You know what? I feel like we should do the hands overhead again, interlaced. This time, let's do the other pinky. I think we should. So go ahead, interlace the fingers normally without thinking about it. That's your common go-to normal pattern way. Now let's break that pattern. Put the other one on top. This time we'll start by pushing it out as ahead of us. Good. Now from here, take those arms up actively. Shoulders pulled down actively. Rip, you know the deal. I don't have to keep repeating myself, but you got to do it. You got to go for it. And then you got to breathe deeply. And as your body is working hard, your breath is whispering to everything else, it's okay. I know it feels kind of hectic right now, but we got this. It's all under control. And the exhale, release. Let's hit that reset button, arms out to a T. Externally rotate. Arms all the way up and overhead, palms touch. Try to take it back behind the ears, reach, shoulders down, rib cage in, tailbone tucked. I know, you're sick of hearing it, but you gotta dial it in. And the exhale to wash away. All right, now, I'm gonna need this again. I'm gonna keep this close, but I'm gonna get it out of the way for this next pose. So we're going to do what's commonly called eagle arms, okay? It comes from a pose in Sanskrit that's called Garudasana. And Garuda was this like half bird, eagle, half human thing. But in the translation just goes to eagle pose. So eagle pose has a leg aspect as well. We're just doing the top half of it. This is eagle arms, we'll call this. Again, some people call it like twisted root. But yeah, I would say that the English name for this is most commonly, in my experience, eagle. And this is because it's just the upper body, it's eagle arms. So um, arms out to a T again, all right? But instead of doing our rotation, what we're gonna do is we're just gonna bring the arms in and try to give ourselves a big hug, okay? Now, if you're tight, you can only kind of grab a little bit, or depending on how your body's built, you might have some things in the way. So just do your best to like kind of ratchet your fingers as much as you can. Kind of like if you remember being in like, I don't know, middle school and you would pretend you're like making out with somebody, you know, you're not, but you know what I'm saying? Really go for it. Okay. And now this is where you might stay, like trying to get your fingers as much around you as you possibly can. The next step, so if you can only go here, this is fine. But if you can also try to take your forearms vertical. So check it out. Um, I'm not even really think about it too much. Just take my forearms vertical and then hook my hands. Okay, so there's this little sliver in between that I'm sort of peeking at you from. So this would be Garuda hands or eagle arms, Garuda arms, eagle arms, okay? And again, if this is too much, you can try to push the backs of your hands together, or you can just give yourself this big hug. Either one of them, whatever works best for you today when you're practicing this. All right, now, whichever arm variation you're in, what I want you to do is root down through your feet. Yes. Now, from here, I want you to take your elbows up as much as you can. Now, keep your hands wherever your hands are, whatever position they're in, keep them where they are and lift your elbows up. Okay, you might start to feel something there already. Now, for the next challenge, as the elbows lift up, the shoulder blades go down the back at the same time. So I'm still lifting my elbows up, but I'm opposing that action with my shoulder blades pulling down. Keep breathing here, doing both those things at once. Those of you who have your forearms vertical, your hands interlaced, what you're going to do, yeah, elbows up, shoulders down the back still, but then your hands are going to come forward. Yeah, all that happening at once. Two more breaths here. Elbows up, shoulders down, rib cage in, hands forward if possible. And then let your chin tuck into your chest at the very end. Now notice which elbow's on top, please. Okay, take note. Okay, elbow on top, you're going to the bottom. Here we go. Big hug on side two. Now you might find you can do it on this side. All right, that's great. Maybe you find it's a little bit more challenging. Maybe it's easier. I don't know. Again, does not matter where you go with it. Just find where you can manage your breath, but you're also getting some kind of sensation if you can. You know, not to be a sensation junkie, but I would just, you know, be gentle with yourself, but don't take it easy on yourself either. You know, find something interesting. So here we go. One more time. Elbows up and away. So you root down through your feet. Shoulder blades actively down the back. Rib cage draws in, so we have a nice supported core, tailbone down. Couple of deep breaths here. Eagle arms. Hands forward if you can. And then go ahead, open it up like big arms, like get your eagle on, like get that wingspan going. And let it come down. Inhale your arms up to a T. Externally rotate. Find an inhale here, arms all the way up until the palms touch. Keep reaching up as you take the exhale, shoulders pull down the back, lower ribs draw in, tailbone tucks down through the heels. As you inhale one more time really big, you go back to number one with reaching up as everything stays in check, those other anchors. The exhale, slowly, arms right down. Okay, now this is the one where I definitely am going to need a strap. Some of you are going to have no problem hooking your hands behind you or just grabbing a little bit, but I cannot do that. So I am going to need a strap. I'll show you this from behind. Now, we're going to do it in two different ways, all right? We'll start by setting up the bottom arm first. We'll do both sides, and then we'll come back and we'll do the upper arm first. All right. Now, you'll see if you're using a strap, you always want to have the strap in your upper arm. Thing called gravity. The strap's going to hang down. It's going to be easy for your bottom arm. If it's in your bottom arm, gravity, it's going to make it real hard for this top arm. Okay. So since we are doing the upper arm first, we are going to use, let's use this one. This is my right, but your left. So you're going to take your left. So I'm mirroring you. All right. And what we're going to do is we're going to take it out to the side. Now I'm just going to put my strap because I know I'm going to need it. If you think you might put your old t-shirt or whatever you're using, your old towel over your right shoulder. Yeah. So with your left arm straight out to the side, we've been externally rotating. Now we're actually going to internally rotate. So internally rotate this left arm as much as you can from the shoulder. Now you're going to bend your left elbow and you are going to try to get it to the other side of your body and up. Now it's kind of hard. So I'm actually going to take my other hand and I'm going to recruit it. I'm going to pull it and get it up as high as I can. All right. Now from there, I am going to take my second arm. Okay. Now I know I need a strap, so I'm going to put it in my hand and I'm going to take that actively out to the side, palm facing up. So now I'm in an external rotation here. Should be familiar with this by now. And we're going to take that straight up like we do in the upward salute. Now, from here, I'm going to bend my top elbow, and I'm going to put my forearm behind my head. And again, if I could reach my fingers, I'd clasp them. But as you can see, I cannot do that. So I am going to grab onto the strap as close to my hands as I can. And if you're using a strap or a towel, you're going to walk your fingers as close as you can. It's kind of like you're using those ratchet straps on pickup trucks, like the chink, chink, trying to really get it good. Now, a lot of people, their forearm will be off to the side here. Really get that forearm behind your head, elbow straight up toward the ceiling. Okay. Now, we've got some dialing in to do. So I'm going to get a nice hip width stance. I'm going to root down. Now, from here, I'm kind of feel like I'm getting thrust forward with my arms. So I'm going to start to push the back of my head into my top forearm. Now, for me, this side, my left, but it looks like your right. So your right side is probably up. So I want you to drop your right ribs and lift your left ribs. So it's kind of a little bit of a side loop of the rib cage, pushing the head back. Now, reach the elbow to the sky, push the head back into the forearm. Even out the rib cage, again, probably by taking that right rib cage down, left rib cage up. Tuck the tail, one long breath here. Now, as you release, you're just going to take that top arm up to the sky, leave it up there. You're going to liberate your bottom arm, externally rotate, come up to take the other, reach. You know this pose. Give it all you got for one breath. And release. I don't know about you, but I'm already feeling some nice stuff opening up here. Here we go, other side. I'm going to put the strap on this shoulder. Here we go as I get set up. I'm going to take my left arm, but for you, you're going to take your right arm out to the side. So I'm mirroring you. Instead of external rotation, we're going to internally rotate the shoulder. Internally, okay? Now we're going to bend that elbow, and we're going to take it up, and I'm going to help it with my other hand as much as possible. All right, and I'm going to glue it back there. I'm going to take my other arm. I'm going to take it to the sky. Then I'm going to bend that elbow. Now, I didn't take the strap with me, but it's already on my shoulder, so I can now pick it up. Forearm behind the head. Oh, where's that strap? Ah, there it is. Nice. And then ratchet. Get as much as you can. Now, here we go. Elbow reaches to the sky. 1. Head pushes back into the forearm. 2. Lower ribs get even. So probably have to drop the left rib cage down, lift the right rib cage up. Draw it in. Don't forget that elbow lifting. Don't forget the head pushing back. It's down to the tailbone. Maybe ratchet the fingers a little bit closer. One more big breath here. Now again, to free this up, take the top arm straight up to the sky. Bottom arm releases, comes up to meet it. I'm going to keep that strap in my hands. It's not bothering me. Fingers up, shoulders down, rib cage in, and yeah. Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to go with the bottom arm first. So, oh, we did the bottom arm first. Sorry, the top arm first. Here's my head. So here we go. Again, I know that I'm going to need the strap, all right? And so I am going to have it in my hands, all right, loosely as I set this up. So please take your right arm out to the side, external rotation. Arm comes up alongside the ear. Okay, now we're going to bend our elbow, and now we're going to use our bottom arm to help, just like we kind of used the top arm to sort of help us, come up the back. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, and I'm going to push onto my elbow and really try to wedge it down there. Like you're trying to get that like SPF 50, like right on the center of your back, you know? You got no one around you, but you want to be safe. Anyway, so really go for it. Okay, now again, lock that into place. Let's get that bottom arm. So take it out to the side, internal rotation, bend it. You can kind of see me, I'm kind of scooching, I'm squeezing, I'm trying to find that strap or find your fingers. And then go ahead and ratchet it in. So whether you have the strap or your fingers, really get a good purchase with the hands like you're rock climbing. Good. Now here we go. Elbow to the sky. Head into forearm. Even out your rib cage. All right. So for you, you're probably going to have to take that left rib cage a little bit higher, the right rib cage a little bit down. Breathe. And release. One quick reset. Top arm to sky. Bottom arm comes up to meet it. One big breath here. Everything at once. Riding exhale down. You're doing great. You might be feeling like you want to punch me or punch your computer. There's a lot of stuff gets stuck in here. So it's okay. All right. I totally get it. But we're trying to really work that stuff out. So if it is feeling a little bit agitating, please stay with it. You know, when we get done with it, man, you are going to feel light. Easy. Here we go. Other arm. So left arm out to the side. Take it straight up. Bend at the elbow. This right arm's going to come around for the assist. Elbow down the back. Go ahead and try to get as low as you can go. Lock it into place. Now, internally rotate this bottom arm. Sweep it. Bend it. Oh, grab onto it. Whatever you can get. If you didn't have a strap, you could even like grab onto your shirt. I've seen people do that. This totally works. I've done it. I've seen people. I've actually done it myself. I'll even demonstrate it right now. All right, elbow to the sky. Yeah. Head pushes back into forearm. Yeah. Lower ribs even out. That right side of the rib comes up for you. Left goes down a little bit. Here we go. Deep breaths. Feel all that tension in there. You're starting to just really heat it up, work it out as best you possibly can. And as you unwind, top arm to the sky, bottom arm comes up to meet it. Reach, draw it down, rib cage draws in, tailbone tucks towards heels. Maybe those arms go a little bit further back to challenge just a little bit more. Exhale the hands down, arms down. We are almost there. And hopefully you are feeling nice and loose. We're going to come to a wall. You're going to have to find a wall for this one. Hopefully you've got a wall somewhere where you're at. If you're doing this, I don't know, at the beach or something like that, you could kind of like lay on the ground and pretend the ground was the wall. So just kind of watch how we set it up and then get creative. But we're gonna tie in that warrior one pose Luckily, I've got a wall right here. So I'm going to be standing with my hip close to the wall. Not right up against it, okay, but close. I'd say about 6 inches away. Now, the other foot is going to big step forward, all right? Big step forward. And I'm going to let my back heel come down because in Warrior One, that back heel is down on the ground. Now, this arm that's closest to the wall, I am going to take it back, all right? Now, I don't want to have my arm hyperextended and straight out. Okay, I want a soft elbow, a little bit of bend. Fingers are spread. My arm is about the same height as my shoulder here. My hand, sorry, about the same height as my shoulder. Now, I'm really going to push this hand into the wall, push my elbow toward the wall. And if it's touching the wall, that's fine too. But again, there's a little bit of bend in that elbow, as you can see. Now, here comes the fun part. You are going to take this shoulder that's closest to the wall, this chest, and you're going to start to, as you bend into your knee, you're going to rotate it. Keep this arm stuck back and slowly start to rotate and see if you can get a nice big stretch in the front of the chest here. I even like to take my opposite hand and put it in that sort of chest-shoulder connection. Close my eyes and take a nice deep breath. Fingers spread. Elbows push toward wall. Bend the knee as you rotate. Oh yeah, that rib cage draws in a little bit, protecting the lower back. So if you felt it not so good in your lower back, draw that lower rib cage in. Go ahead and release. Let's do the other side. Just turn yourself around. Now, leg furthest from the wall, step it out. Back heel comes down onto the ground. So we're in Warrior One stance to set this up. Arm closest to the wall, it's going to go back. Not straight out, a little bit of bend. Get that set up. Pause. Hand glues. The hand is not leaving its spot. It's going to glue there, push into that wall. Elbow is going to push into the wall. Keep that. Don't lose that. That's your anchor. Now, bend into this front knee as you keep that anchor. Opposite hand on that spot. And see if you can't actually direct your breath into that area. I know you don't have lungs technically right there. Just think about trying to breathe space into this shoulder-chest connection. One last breath. And then release. I like to do a kind of a bowling alley move. Very Lebowski. All right, so come away from the wall. Congratulations. We are like almost there. We are so close. But before we do, essentially it's going to be our last pose. I want you to, wash it out. Arms to a T, externally rotate, arms to the sky, reach. Nope, like go for it. Take those arms back a little bit further. Keep reaching, hands glued together, shoulders down, rib cage in. Take any tension out of the neck while you're still engaged, tailbone down. Yeah, there's the exhale when you're ready for it. And you might not be ready for it. You might want to hang out for a second. You might still be finishing an inhale. Don't move just because I start to move. Move when your breath dictates it, all right? Now, essentially to end the class here, we are going to do a sort of a reverse sort of prayer hands. So instead of taking the hands in front of you, we are going to take the hands behind. Now, this is tough. If you got the tight shoulders, this is tough. So a couple great ways to access this pose without being able to do this position behind your back, okay? First one is just taking your fists together and squeezing your elbows back like they could squeeze together. They won't be able to, but that's the direction you're going in. So this is a great spot to go. I sometimes really like to bend both elbows and try to grab onto the opposite elbow with each hand. Again, same thing. Elbows are trying to squeeze together to help me out a little bit more. So that's another place you can go. Some of you might be able to, I'm going to try to show you because I care. It might not work. I don't know. Let's see. So here we go. I would go internal rotation here, internal rotation. I'd bend, I have to get down, you'll see me. I'm gonna bend into it, and then hands come together, and then, oh, turn it, and then wiggle it. Oh, there we go. Now you can see my hands don't come all the way together, but I'm trying to get them there. This is a pretty big stretch for my wrists too. We'll be getting more into wrists and hands and things like that in the next class. So you might need to back out of this and go back to, the elbow grab or the fist together. Do what works best for you. Breathe. Now, from here, we are going to draw those elbows back together. Try to push the palms of the hand together. Some of you can probably do that. Now, notice rib cage, want to really pop out here. So draw it in, down through the heels. Now, keep the shoulder blades squeezing in together. Keep the palms of the hands squeezing together. Now try to take the elbows forward as well. Shoulders down the back. Do as much as you can in this spot. One big breath. And then release. One more for good measure. Arms out to a T. External rotation. Less robot. More like water-like motion. Palms together. Reach. Shoulders oppose. Rib cage loops. Tailbone tucks toward heels. Big breath. And exhale. Arms down. You're going to come on down to your back. And I'm just going to show you one thing before you get too comfortable. So this is a bolster. It doesn't have to be a formal yoga bolster. It could be like a pillow, but you want it to be like long. So you want to put your pillow not like how it might normally be behind your head, but you're going to turn it like long ways. Maybe even put two pillows on top of each other. And what you're trying to do essentially is to support your spine and then let your shoulders kind of pour down over it. We'll end class today. And if you don't have pillows available, if you don't have like a couch cushion, or the couch cushion's too wide, or you can't find a blanket or anything else, that's totally cool. Just come onto your backs. Let's just sort of feel what's going on in that tornado of our upper body here as we settle into the eye of the storm. Let go. So again, just briefly acknowledge anything that came up for you during this class. Whether you label it as good or bad or whatever. It's in the past now. So take from it the lessons that you can without holding on to any judgment or evaluation. How you did, how I did, how whoever did. Just be here. Let your breath go. So there's this concept that your body keeps the score. There's things that your immediate memory may have forgotten. But if you haven't totally processed various life events that have affected you, there's a school of thought that believes your body keeps track. Sometimes when we're practicing deep breathing, when we're practicing these new sort of odd positions, you may indirectly start to unravel or unleash some things that were maybe stuck in your body. It's just important that you realize that's totally natural, that's totally normal. And in fact, I believe it to be quite healthy. This is why this final relaxation is so important, that we ground it, that we get rid of that stuff that we've maybe unlocked or freed up, and just let it go on its way. It's been trapped for far too long. And it's weird too, because it's hard to like identify maybe exactly what it is. But I know in my experience, something has been released, and that feels nice. And to me, that something feels more than physical. But it may feel differently for you. Again, this isn't a compare thing. This isn't a judge thing. This is just a being and watching thing. If you can take a little bit more time here, please absolutely let yourself chill. For those of you who are moving on, take your right arm up alongside your ear. Bend both of your knees, put your feet flat, and then like just roll yourself into a fetal position. Using your right arm as like a pillow. Pause for a moment. And slowly push yourself all the way up. Take a moment to sit tall in your seat and just take inventory of how you're feeling. Maybe it's on the physical, mental, and emotional. Maybe it's just an overall internal wholeness. Or maybe you're feeling fragmented. Maybe you're feeling the externals pushing in. It's all valid. It's just the more you know, the more you can respond rather than just react. So I hope you have a great rest of your day. Notice what your backpack feels like as you go through the rest of the day. And